Okay, so some facts about, okay, let's start with the Indian food industry, right? Indian food industry comprises of three parts. One is the agriculture, where the food production takes place. Then there's the food processing, right? Then there is food retail. Now food retail comprises of two parts. One is the food service, and then the retail food, the ready-to-eat foods and the other things that you see off the shelf, right? What I'm an expert is food service. Food service is the restaurant industry in India. Now the food service part in India, right, is again divided into four categories. One is the fine line, second is the casual time, third is the fast casual, and the fourth is the QSR, which is the fast food format. Now in India, 41% of the industry comprises of QSR, 12% is with fine line, 30% is the small format, and 17% is the cafes, like the cafe coffee days and the baristas of the world. Now, how are we positioned as India in the global economy? Because India is a developing country, right? There are developed countries and there are underdeveloped countries. So, what's already happened abroad is what is going to happen in India. Let's assume that although we are going ahead and missing some legs and actually coming to the level where the developed countries are. So, for example, in India, an average Indian eats 2 times in a month. In Singapore, an average guy eats 40 times in a month.
Outside. Even outside home.
Outside. Don't count your moms and wives to your outside. So, that's the difference. That's a huge difference. No? An Indian eating 2 times in a month and a Singapore guy eating 40 times in a month. But what we have as an advantage is the number of people in India, right? Imagine this number just shifts to 4 times a month. The industry just doubles. The potential just doubles. And anyways, the Indian market, the food market, right, is of $65 billion. That's the outside Indian food market. Out of which, only 2% is the organized retail. When I say organized retail, it's Subways and KFCs and McDonald's of the world. Only 2%. Remaining all is unorganized. Which in future we will see converting into organized. For example, you see vada pavs are organized now to the level, right? Chaats are organized now. So similarly, all this $65 billion industry, which is anyways growing at a 30% per annum, is going to get organized in the near future. Okay, now some bad news. I just attended a conference recently where I discovered that they did research in 150 countries in the world in terms of the difficulties in doing business, right? Any guesses where did India stand? 50 out of 150? Okay. Any other?
More than 150.
That's within 150. There are 150 countries which have been studied.
Somewhere around the end.
Exactly. 128 in terms of difficulty in doing business. Singapore rated number 1 because there are countries which promote entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, India is not one of them. There are a lot of hardships if you plan to go for it, and as the statistics say, 128, it's true. Because there are countries which give seed capital for people who want to start entrepreneurship. There are countries which help in the legal system, the framework, everything. But in India, it's the other way around. If you want to become an entrepreneur, high tariffs, high real estate cost, high capital cost, unavailability of capital. So it's very, very difficult to do business in India. But, like they say, the good part that I was told was, if you can drive in Pune, you can drive anywhere. So similarly, that's how it works. If you can do business in India, you can do anywhere. But that's only the bright side that I can say. But, yeah, at the same time, the market potential is there. We are in a country where all the MNCs virtually want to come to India. Many of the players are already there. And the ones which are not there are already having plans to come to India. And food is a very, very local business. So the kind of work that an Indian can do, an MNC can never do. For example, I'll give you the biggest example, the biggest statistic that came across to me was that McDonald's India, right, started 15 years back. Right? It wasn't profitable on day one. It has to invest a lot of money, change the food, modify the food as per the Indian palate, right? And then that's what they've reached. And as of today, in McDonald's, 65% of the menu is indigenized. 65% of the menu is not available anywhere in the world. They had to customize to the level of 65%. So if that's the case, then what's the point of having McDonald's? I might as well start my own thing, be my own McDonald's. If I have to go to 65% and so many losses for so many years. So that's a very big opportunity that we saw, right? We believe in blue ocean. Is anybody aware of blue ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how blue ocean works is there are two ways, right? Either you enter the market, right? Enter the competition, make your own competitive advantage, and then go for it. Second, find your own USP and be in a zone where there is no competition. That's why we did a research for 1.5 years before venturing into it. My friends and my partners already have the experience of restaurant business for the past 8 years. But then we came together and we thought, okay, let's do something that can be consolidated pan-India. If I have to go pan-India, fine dining is out of question, right? Then the second is casual dining. And the third segment which is opening up in India, which is called fast casual. It's not fast food completely, which is not casual dining, but rather somewhere in the middle, right? That's what we chose, and then we went for it. Then, which cuisine to go for, right? For example, in US, there are 7 types of meals comprises 100% of the dinner meal. And in India, 15 different types of meals comprises only 60% of the dinner meal. So in India, the demand for this variety is much more than the other countries, right? So then we saw the gap, we saw we are not having these pockets, let's just not enter the market with competition with the McDonald's and KFC of the world, rather we have one niche. So in the niche, then we saw the gap was available in 2 industries. One is Chinese food. Still there are no good Chinese food in India for today. And the second is seafood. Now why we chose seafood is primarily because seafood is internationally also a very burgeoning market. Because seafood is a very delicate product and needs good amount of infrastructure investment in logistics, in cold storage, in depot trucks, and things like that. And it just seems recently that the infrastructure is available. We thought, let's take the first mover advantage and we went for it. Now when we went for it, we didn't know that we are in a country where we are in a dilemma. Because on one side, right, we have first world cost. When I say first world cost, it's things like real estate, right? For example, there is a place in Khan Market, which is the most expensive place to rent in the world, right? So, real estate is very expensive, capital is very expensive, and on the other side, when you come to consumer side, right, people don't want to pay. They want a 25 rupees burger, be you in Khan Market or be you in Amu. So, when we are stuck in this position where our cost is of first world and the consumer, right, wants to spend a third world value, right, then you have to match the whole thing. That's where you have to manage all your costs, position yourself in a way where you can make your expenditure profitable and then go forward. Right? Okay. Some statistics for India. 300 million Indians are between 13 to 24. Right? And there are many people catering to them. That's why these cafes and these mochas in the world are leveraging on and going for it. Industry is position poised to be growing at 48% for the next few years. 75% of the Indian population lives in villages as of today, and it is expected to increase from 28% to 40% by 2020. And Indian spends 48% of his income, of his wallet on food, right? Which goes 54% in rural areas and 41% in urban areas. Why 41% in urban? Because the cost of living is high in urban areas, so people tend to spend less on food. And in rural areas, it goes up to 54%, where the cost of living is less, so people spend more on food. So that's the kind of potential. And if you come to the cuisine, in terms of the breakup of the cuisines and how much percentage is this cuisine, ice cream parlors have 8% of the business in India, bakery has 5%, fast food has 21%, Chinese food has 7%, coffee shop 16%, continental is at 13%, South Indian is at 9%, North Indian Mughlai is at 7%, and kebabs and tikka is 6%. Now, new segment which is opened up is the healthy food, which is at 8%.